What's going on, 8 Nation? Randall Cornet here. I hope you guys are having a great day and have an excellent weekend. I'm kind of just going through. We know we have a lot of failure to delivers that are going to be kind of hitting or rolling through starting today, pretty much through the majority of next week and so forth. And so I just kind of was going through how they could hide failure to delivers and different ways they can kind of maneuver around that. And I found some pretty interesting stuff that kind of perked my interest, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So what we're looking at right here is a securities lawyer website. It just seems like it's an aggregate for a lot of different security laws. And there's a certain section that I liked. So short sell red flags identified by the SEC. So to me, this is saying that when the SEC kind of sees these sort of things, a little red flag pops up. And a lot of these we see with AMC already. So trading exclusively or excessively in hard to borrow securities or thresholdless securities, boom, we checked that. Large short positions in hard to borrow securities or thresholdless securities, you know that. Large failure to deliver positions in an account, often in multiple securities. Continuous failure to deliver positions. And this is where it gets interesting. Using buy rights, married puts, or both, particularly deep in the money buy rights or married puts to satisfy the closeout requirement. This is the one that a lot of people are kind of already aware of. We've talked about this before, and it's how they create synthetics. But what really got my interest, and this is what we're going into, is trading in customizable flex options in hard to borrow securities or thresholdless securities, particularly very short-term flex options. So we'll talk about flex options, but then the last part of the list, purported market makers trading in hard to borrow or thresholdless securities, claiming the exception from the locate requirement of Regulation Show, which is what True Demon and I had an hour and a half conversation about when it comes to short exempt shares, which now Stonko Tracker is actually tracking that data, which is good stuff. So let's go look at what flex options are according to the NYSE. So equity flex options are designed to extend investor access to customized derivative products. With equity flex options, investors are able to set key contract terms like exercise prices, exercise styles, and expiration dates, and to trade in size with no position or exercise limits. Equity flex options are traded on all listed options, including but not limited to stock options, American depository receipts, and exchange traded funds. A minimum of 150 contracts or 1 million in notional value is required to open a new equity flex option series. A minimum of 100 contracts is required to establish additional opening positions in an existing equity flex series. For closing transactions, the minimum is 25 contracts or the remaining opening interest. And then you have index flexes as well, which index flex options are designed to extend investor access to customized derivative products. With index flex options, investors have the ability to set key contract terms like exercise prices, styles, and dates. And we have those for the ARCA as well, which is pretty much the same exact definition, right? But what's interesting on this one is when you look at flex options for ARCA, you see flex options combine the benefits of contract customization with the advantages of listing and can provide investors with the ability to customize, all size, price, and style of exercise. But price discovery in competitive, transparent auction markets and a secondary market to offset positions, contract guarantee, and virtual elimination of counterparty risk. All that stuff, it's probably to you guys, I don't know if it even means anything. But when we go and look at, I'm looking at a national exam program. This is a risk alert that was assigned by the SEC. This was actually back in August 9th of 2013. Strengthening practices preventing and detecting illegal options and trading used to reset Reg Show closeout obligations. And it says, this risk alert encourages awareness of options trading activity that could be used to avoid complying with the closeout requirements under Reg Show. Such activities may include, for example, trading in short-dated flex options, very short-date listed options, and or deep in the money listed options. So we scroll down, trying to get to the juice of this. So key trading terms and concepts. A buy right, which is what if we come back to this is the first one. So buy rights. So we're looking at flex options and buy rights. Is when a buy right is a trade that simultaneously sell of calls and purchase of the equivalent amount of shares in the underlying stock. So they sell calls and they also purchase shares in the stock. Buy rights associated with the activity at issue typically employ deep in the money calls. A married put is a simultaneous purchase of a put and a purchase of the equivalent amount of shares in the underlying stock. So they buy the put and they buy the same amount in shares. When associated with the activity at issue, the married puts typically employ deep in the money puts. Now, what we're talking about, flex. Flex options are exchange traded options that have non-standard customizable contract terms. The main features of flex options compared to standard trader options are the abilities to specify the strike price and expiration date. I wish we can make custom options. That would be really awesome. Options are priced in the marketplace, so the price of the underlying security is the same as the synthetic price of its options. The relationship between the price of a security and its options is known as put-call parity. For example, a synthetic long position, which consists of a long call and a short put of the same strike and expiration date, also known as a long combination position, is typically the equivalent of a 100-share long position in an equity security. When the synthetic position is priced correctly with respect to the actual shares, no potential profit opportunities exist in the market. In other words, being long the synthetic position and being short the actual shares normally results in a riskless, fully hedged, and profitless position. This position is commonly known as in the industry as a reversal. But by doing that, they could basically simulate, a closeout of a position. Where there are differences in the value of synthetic positions and the actual shares that they represent, a potential profit opportunity exists. Such opportunities are extremely rare in options trading and generally corrected very quickly and may not result in net profit after fees and commissions. Such rare, short-lived opportunities are typically only accessible by and profitable to professional option traders such as floor traders and market makers. Who's our favorite market maker, right? We know who they are, who may pay lower fees and commissions. Electronic quoting engines of professional option traders ensure that such potential profit opportunities would be quickly priced away and put-call parity would be reinstated. So, periodically, securities become hard to borrow where there are a large and persistent fails to deliver in the security end up on the threshold security list. These situations give rise to pricing differentials in the options of the securities, and the put-call parity equation may appear out of balance, which is, in part, a reflection of higher borrowing rates on these securities. When shares become hard to borrow, the synthetic position typically trades at prices that are less than the actual shares. This reflects the risk the shares cannot be borrowed and will have to be bought in compliance with Reg Show closeout requirements. In the extreme, these price differences can be quite large, creating potential profit opportunities in certain option trading through strategies for those who are able to short the underlying equity securities without paying the high costs typically associated with obtaining for delivery the hard to borrow securities that were sold short. So not only are you avoiding failure to delivers, you're telling me that these guys can actually profit from this shit. And this is where we kind of get to the juicy stuff. Section 2 says option activity related to hard to borrow and or threshold securities. One strategy that could be designed to take advantage of the potential profit opportunities created by a stock becoming hard to borrow, thereby putting the put-call parity into imbalance, is to initiate a reversal. The activity is most often done by broker-dealers who claim to rely on the exception to the locate requirement for options market makers found in Rule 203. This all circles back to, again, what TD and I were talking about. Market makers basically in brokerages abusing the short exempt rule. The options market makers claim that they can enter into the short stock position without first locating the shares to borrow because of its bona fide market making activity. Although an options market engaged in bona fide market making activity may claim an exception to the locate requirement, to comply with Reg Show, the options maker must still deliver shares in settlement of the short sell, or if a failed delivered position results at the clearing firm, the fail to deliver must be closed out in accordance with Rule 204. It may be a violation of Reg Show, however, where the options maker does not deliver shares and instead engages in a second subsequent transaction in order to give the appearance, right, the appearance of satisfying the clearing firm's obligation to purchase or borrow the security to close out the resulting settlement, fail pursuant to Rule 204 closeout requirements, aka reset transactions. In addition, where a clearing firm subject to the closeout requirements purchases or borrows securities on the applicable closeout date and on that same date engages in sell transactions that can be used to reestablish or otherwise extend the clearing firm's fail position and for which the clearing firm is unable to demonstrate a legitimate economic purpose, the clearing firm will not be deemed to have satisfied the closeout requirement. Moreover, if the clearing firm or broker-dealer that was allocated the fail to deliver position enters into an arrangement with another purchase or a person to purchase securities as required by Rule 204, and the clearing firm or broker-dealer that was allocated a fail to deliver position knows or has reason to know that the other person will not deliver the securities in settlement of the purchase, then the transaction is a sham closeout in violation of Rule 204. So here's an example. The initial transaction, stock XYZ is trading at $51. They put May 50 puts on XYZ at trading $3, May 50 calls on XYZ trading $3. Then trader A sells 10,000 shares XYZ at $51. They buy 100 May 50 calls at $3 and sell 100 May 50 puts at $3. In this example, the synthetic position is trading for $50, which is simply call price, put price to strike price. The actual shares are trading for 51. So trader A has effectively sold shares for $1 more than it paid for them in a simultaneous transaction. Each time the trade is made, trader A is earning $100 profit, assuming that trader A is not being charged the fee to borrow shares, to deliver or short sell, and B, the clearing firm does not effect a buy-in against a trader to close out the fail to deliver position. Well, if these are market makers doing this, it's a good chance they're not paying any fees to borrow these shares, or if they're acting as a market maker or consider themselves bona fide market making. In this case, the trade, so where the hell was I? Okay. In this case, the trade was made 100 times, so the profit would be $10,000. The sole reason for the disparity between the actual shares and the synthetic position is the fact that the shares of XYZ are hard to borrow. The second transaction to quote unquote reset the clock, this is what's more relevant to us. Assuming that XYZ is hard to borrow security and that trader A or its broker dealer is unable or unwilling to borrow shares to make delivery on the short sell of actual shares, the short sell may result in a fail to deliver position at trader A's clearing firm. Rather than paying the borrowing fee on the shares to make delivery or unwinding the position by purchasing the shares in the market, trader A might next enter a trade that gives the appearance of satisfying the broker-dealer's closeout requirement, but in reality allows trader A to maintain its short position without ever delivering on the short sell. Most often, this is done through the use of a buy-right trade, but also may be done as a married put and may incorporate the use of short-term flex options. These trades are commonly referred to as reset transactions, in which they have the effect of resetting the time that the broker-dealer must purchase or borrow the stock to close out a fail. These transactions could be designed solely to give the appearance of delivering the shares, when in reality, the trader has no intention of meeting his delivery obligations. The buy rights, but not are always prearranged trades between market makers or parties claiming to be market makers. The price in these transactions is determined so that the short seller pays a small price to the other market maker for the trade, resulting in no economic benefit to the short seller for the reset transaction other than to give the appearance of meeting his delivery obligations. So what they're saying here is that they actually might be paying a little fee to the person that's willing to let them do this, and they don't stand to gain anything money or anything that's, it might, in fact, it's probably costing them a little bit, right? But it allows them to reset the clock. Such transactions were alleged by the commission to be sham transactions in recent enforcement cases. Such transactions between traders or any market participants have also been found to constitute a violation of a clearing firm's responsibility to close out a failure to deliver. Trader A may enter a buy right transaction consisting of selling deep in the money calls and buying shares of stock against the call sell. By doing so, Trader A appeared to have purchased shares to meet the broker-dealer's closeout obligation for the fail to deliver that resulted from the reverse conversion. In practice, however, the circumstances suggest that Trader A has no intention of delivering shares, as instead reestablishing or extending a fail position. The circumstances vary. For example, Trader A may be engaging in buy rights with a known counterparty, such as another market maker, Trader B, that Trader A pays to take the other side of its reset transactions. In this circumstance, Trader A and Trader B agree on a price at which the buy right will be transacted. The trade is consummated as a spread, with the stock and options portion executed at the same exact time. Trader A sells calls to Trader B, and Trader A buys shares from Trader B. The size of the trade is dictated by how many shares Trader A is required to deliver to appear to have closed out the settlement fail arising from the short position and avoid a buy-in or large borrowing fees. So they're doing this is how they're actually able to kind of avoid borrowing fees to close out positions. So they hide the position and they avoid having to pay anything like as if they were normally going to borrow the stock to close out a position. It's really fucked up. Trader A knows he has reason to know that the counterparty to the buy right will not deliver securities in the settlement of the transaction. Rather, on the same day of the buy right, Trader B will, in almost every case, exercise the deep in the money options it bought from Trader A in order to eliminate the short position created by selling shares to Trader A in the buy right transaction, negating Trader A's purchase of those shares. The two counterparties trade deep in the money calls with little to no open interest, so that Trader A knows when Trader B exercises its calls, Trader A will be the one assigned. So it's like them finding, we've heard of this before, like signaling, or like, it's how birds communicate. So they go find these ones so they know that when that person exercises, it's only going to the party they want it to go to. It's actually really absolutely nuts. And there's a lot of this information that goes into this. So I'm not going to read the whole document. I think I got the gist of it out. And I know it's kind of boring because I'm just reading off this, but I think it's really relevant. And I thought they did a good explanation of kind of showing what the hell is going on. So as I was digging into all of this, you guys can actually go and look at the Flex reports. So I went and pulled, so I would do equity, and then I went and pulled like one that I was curious to see was like June 2nd when we had a run. I downloaded that. Let's see if this will open. So you could see, you'll see AMC right here. And they bought the $62 strikes, but who knows? That could have been deep out the money at the time when that was happening, right? Remember, again, they're doing short-term options, and it's really designed to free them from a lot of regulations show requirements they need to be meeting. So I thought that's pretty interesting. Obviously, I haven't batched all of this information together, but you can go on the OCC's website and literally look at these Flex reports and see what is kind of going on with the actual Flex options that were discussed in this video. Another thing that's interesting. So let's see if I can find this. So we can also come here and look at, and I'm looking for, not daily volume, stock loan volume. Okay. So you can actually pull up daily stock loan volume by month, by security. So let's just say if I went to the 4th of August. Another thing we can look at is the stock loan balance, which the OCC basically operates as the market maker for borrowers and borrowees of a security. So you can download these reports daily. And when I downloaded this report, and I just stumbled across this stuff today. So, but if we come down and we look at AMC, 292 million in the, basically, which is the hedge loan balance, which I thought was highly interesting, right? So if we look at the OCC, they basically have market loan programs. And if I even want to Google OCC hedge loan balance, brings me right here. Stock loan hedge program. Introduced the stock loan program, formerly hedge, which allows clearing members to use borrowed and loaned securities to reduce OCC margin requirements by reflecting the real risks of their intermarket hedged positions. Since the program's creation, OCC has worked with clearing members and the depository trust company, DTC, to expand the program and increase operational efficiency of the stock loan system. And then you can see kind of some of their operations, what they do, basically. But I thought this was interesting. This number for AMC was quite high. It's in terms of the other stocks that have this amount, it's the big names. So kind of goes more to prove kind of in a system, like there's a lot of borrowing going on, a lot of need for the shares. Leads me to believe we're right on fucking track. So with that being said, I know this is a really long-winded video, but I think the information is highly important. So I appreciate you guys sticking it out with me. I will catch you guys in the next one. If you enjoyed the content, subscribe, all that good stuff. Love you long time. Peace.